So I'm a self-taught metalsmith and jewelry maker, and for the first few years when I started, I was creating on a desk, then on a bench and another bench, and essentially as my skills grew and I gathered more tools, I created a small corner in my room, in my flat, to be my workshop. And when I moved from the UK to Poland, which was 3 years ago, I started renting a space separate from my flat. After 3 years, I decided that it's enough and I moved back to my flat. The reason I was renting the space in Poland was mostly because I thought I couldn't create jewelry in a rented flat, but also because I thought it would be more professional. Maybe the space would offer more possibilities for me, both with jewelry making and with filming. Overall, I thought it might be a step up, but after 3 years of experience, it was nothing like that. What I really wanted was to be back at home. And perhaps maybe if you're wondering about if you should take this step too and rent a space, or if you're able to create at home in your small workshop, perhaps this video might help you decide. I've created 2 lists. One is for rented workshop and the other is for workshop at home, and they both have pros and cons, and I thought maybe by sharing these it'll give you a better picture. So let's start with rented workshop. That would be a bigger space, obviously, better for filming, nicer setup, and easier focus due to less distractions, obviously without anyone else in the space, easier work-life balance. For some people, it might be very important, and I thought maybe for me too, because while I was still working in Bristol at home, I did tend to work very long hours. I would finish work at night, and honestly it was not very healthy, but I was hoping that perhaps if I have to go out somewhere, I'll come back home and I'll be done. And then there's dedicated space for tools only. I could have entire space just for my workshop, for my tools. I could decorate it and I could just make it look really nice, inspiring, but also with easy flow. So these are the pros. But then we have cons. Can't control noise and other people. So the space I was renting was in like a bigger office building, and I had people all around me, and it turned out that I cannot control that environment. If someone wants to do a phone call on the corridor, they will, and there's nothing I can do. If someone wants to start making noise, hitting something, I can't really do anything about it. And I had a metal roof right outside my window, and there was a broken aircon above, and the water was going down, making a lot of noise. So with filming, that was actually making things much more complicated for me. And then we have rental fee. Obviously, you have to pay for extra space, and for me it was that extra money I could have saved and not necessarily spent on this space. Another thing to consider is commuting, and you're gonna have to pay for the bus or tram or go by bike. It depends on the weather if you can walk there or not, and the space I was renting most recently was about 20 minutes walk from my flat. It turned out to be still a lot, especially if I forgot something, because doing one trip 3 times, that amounted to a lot of time wasted, and even by bike it would still be a little bit of effort to get there and come back. It was not good for me personally. It's restrictive. With time, inspiration, motivation, and ideas. I think this is the biggest one for me, because to explain it simply, I could not just switch my creativity, turn my creativity on and be ready for work. Sometimes, when you feel creative, you feel creative. When you don't, you're not gonna just, turn it back on. And some days where I could be in my workshop, I just didn't feel creative and I didn't have motivation and ideas. So it was hard for me to work on that days and be productive. And it's restrictive because you only have this chunk of time and that's it. You go back home, and even if your idea strikes again, there's nothing really you can do about it. You're back home, and if you can't really go back into the studio, that's it. You have to wait till next day or sometimes till next week. For me, it was just impossible to work like this. And those of you who follow me on YouTube and perhaps Instagram, if you follow my jewelry, you will know how little I was making in the past couple of years. I'm really glad that eventually I've realized that that was the factor that was really limiting for me, and I moved back into my flat and I am just getting back on track right now. But before I realized that, I was searching for the issue elsewhere and I was really trying to put my finger on it. What was causing me to get into this rut, this slump, and I just couldn't find it. So it was groundbreaking once I've realized that it's the space and it's just not having all of my things right here. So next point is can't work whenever, which, all of these points will be in a way connected, because sometimes I just want to sit in the evening and gather my stones, play around with layout, and then it's ready for next day. I can just start working. There are 2 organizational items, shared bathroom and far to the sink. So I definitely prefer to have my own bathroom here at home and close by, and it's really close to the sink. So with jewelry making and silversmithing, you're cleaning your stuff very often and using water. So access to running water is quite important. So that's it for the rented workshop. And now workshop at home. And let's start with cons, obviously. May affect work-life balance and working too much. Yeah, just what I mentioned before. You might find yourself just working whenever and not taking breaks and forgetting that at certain point during the day you should be done. I think that's an issue with creative jobs because oftentimes they are our hobbies. So I would say that's a big one, but we're adults. We can manage. Too loud for others in the flat building. Some places, yeah, it might be difficult. If you are generating a lot of noise, hammering a lot, using your power tools a lot, you might be a nuisance. So that would be important to consider, perhaps maybe using some soundproofing. There's lots of things you can do, but that's definitely one of them. Sometimes there are distractions. Well, yes, so that was one of the reasons why I wanted to rent a space, hoping that I could get in the flow and just work and nothing would distract me. It could be if you have pets, if you have children, if you have a partner working at home, they might have calls if they work, for example, via internet. There might be someone outside your door, deliveries, neighbors, you name it. Anything can happen. But from my personal experience, I find it much less distracting being at home because I can manage my time. If someone's cutting the grass outside and creating noise, I can do something else during that time. I did not have that option in a rented space. You could swap your work with housework. So if it's too loud and I can't record or focus, I will go and do the laundry. And by the time I'm finished, probably it will be quiet again and I'll be able to go back to work. And let's do pros, because as you can see, I am leaning one way, definitely. I am all for working at home. So let's hear the pros. No extra fee in my case. Well, except for perhaps a little bit more for energy that I am consuming right now. So higher bills, but compared with the bills I was paying in my rented space and the fee, that's nothing. I can deal with that. Better use of my time. Like I mentioned before, I can manage my time. I can work when I want to. It's just much easier. It's my own space, literally. I decide what I do, where. And while I am still in a rented space, so it's not like I can do anything, but still I feel more free. Oh, and I have my kitchen here, so I can cook and prepare meals and tea and coffee whenever I need to without extra work of carrying stuff back and forth, cleaning it, all of that. Everything is the way I want. I can access everything anytime. Watching the movie, I just want to do something with my hands. So what do? I gather my stones and I start just playing out with layouts. That's a huge part of my work, but I can do it while having fun in the evening. There's no commute. Oh my god, I am saving so much time. Even though my space wasn't really that far, I'm still saving so much time not commuting. There's no issue with forgetting something, so I'm not wasting my time there. I regulate temperature. I can make it a bit more warm, I can make it a bit cooler. It's just so much better here. I can work whenever I have an idea, inspo and motivation. If, for example, I am not feeling motivated to do something right now, I will start with the housework. Oftentimes it really puts me in the mood, so I can just then stop that and go back to work. I don't know, I wrote easier with life. I'll be honest, I don't remember what I meant, but I'm guessing like everything. If suddenly I have to reply to an email or take care of something, go out and pick something up, help Jarek, walk Koda. It's just so much easier with me being here. I don't have to wait to post something, for example. If I do stuff and I am away in the workshop, I have to wait till I go back home. Oftentimes the post office would have been closed, so I have to wait till next day and plan my trip to the post office, ideally before going to the workshop again. Well, right now I can just pop out, come back, done. So yeah, as you can see, all of these are connected. So it might feel like I am repeating myself because in a way I am. Those few things really made a massive difference for me. And depending on your character and what you're used to, they may make a big difference for you too. Yes. Just being able to create whenever I have time and idea and a little bit of a moment, to spend on it. I just love to be able to do it. And I was worried for nothing because turns out making jewelry is not that noisy, and with safety issues I am using a fume extractor. I am still opening the window while I work. I am really careful with dust, cleaning regularly, so not creating mess around my bench, to protect Koda because she is trying to sleep and walk wherever she can. She really likes hiding spots, so sometimes she might be around the bench. So yeah, I'm keeping it clean for her, for me too, but mostly for her. Let me know in the comments which one are you, if you prefer renting or if you prefer to be at home and create from your own space. If you're just starting out and if you're worried whether you can work at home, yeah, you totally can, because yeah, it's not that difficult. And if you prepare yourself to do it with all of the safety items, fire extinguisher, I hope you have one, you should be fine. But if you do prefer you're renting your space, let me know in the comments why, and I would love to learn a bit more about you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!